Hi, everyone. Tony Costa here from Toronto Apologetics. So glad that you could join me. I just wanted to make the happy announcement that my book, No King But Christ, has been published. And so No King But Christ is now published and available. It was actually published this past December 24th, Christmas Eve. And so that was a minor miracle of sorts to have the book published on Christmas Eve, on the evening in which we celebrate the birth of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so I think it's quite apropos that the title of my book, No King But Christ, would come out on Christmas Eve. The subtitle, of course, is The Collapse and Bankruptcy of Secular World Views. So the book is finally out. And if you would like to purchase a copy, I'm going to put the various links to Amazon in the description box. So if you reside in the United States of America, there will be a link there to Amazon.com. For Canada, Amazon.ca, and those living in the United Kingdom, Amazon.co.uk. And I'll put a few others there. If you're in Australia, if you are in New Zealand, or wherever you are in the world, you could easily access this book. So I'll put those links again in the description box. Now, I would encourage not just Bible students, but I would encourage pastors to get this book. I would also encourage seminary professors to get this book. And this book, while it is theological in many respects, this book also addresses various secular issues. And that's why my subtitle of my book is The Bankruptcy and Collapse and Bankruptcy of Secular Worldviews. And so what I do in this book is I focus in on the kingship of God and the kingship of Christ. And what I do in this book is I talk about the oldest form of government, of course, as far back as we go in human history, in recorded human history. Kingship has always been the form of government from ancient times. The idea of a republic like we have in the United States, or a republic, or even a socialist society, et cetera, all these things were later developments, as ancient nations and cultures all had kings and monarchs and so forth. So what I do is I show that, of course, the idea of kingship is rooted in God himself, who is the true king, the archetypal king. And then what I do in my book is I develop this notion of kingship through the book of Genesis and work through the Old Testament as we weave through the Old Testament. And of course, when we come to the New Testament, God's king, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, he takes center stage, as he also does in the Old Testament messianic prophecies. But in addition to that, I also talk about the situation of our present generation. I deal with the moral collapse in the West, the evolution of morality and ethics, the idea of purpose and meaning and beauty, aesthetics, those ideas which have been traditionally understood to be rooted in the triune God of Scripture, are areas today, if you notice, that are basically being ignored, they're being sidelined, and there is clearly a devaluation of morality, what is right, what is wrong. You have this idea of relativism, everything is relative, there's really no moral absolutes in life, and so forth. And what I also do in my book is I also deal with issues like sexual identity, the idea of sexual gender. Where does the idea of male and female come from? Most modern progressive advocates would argue that that is male and female, the binary genders are simply social conventions that we've just made up. And what I argue in my book is, on the contrary, that sexual gender is rooted in the image of God. It's rooted in God himself, who created us in his image. And of course, God defines his image as male and female. And so the binary gender distinction is something that is not created by government. It's not created by the academia. by the Academy. It is rooted in God himself. It is God who defines us, not the law or the government or the parliament or the House, the Congress or the Senate or presidents or prime ministers or kings and so forth. Only God, the ultimate king, defines us. And so I deal with that, the degeneration of sexual identity, which is integral to us as God's image bearers. I also talk about the subject of Antichrist, that Antichrist is an idea that is rooted, not something that starts in the New Testament, but rather it is rooted in the Old Testament, and that it is basically the rebellion against the king, the ongoing rebellion against the true king. And so I track that, and I track the rise of Antichrist, and what is Antichrist? Is Antichrist a person? Is Antichrist a movement? Is Antichrist an organization? Is it an oligarchy? Is it Russia? Is it the Masons? We have all these various theories, some conspiracy theories that try to identify Antichrist in those ways. So I deal with that as well. I also deal with the idea of cultural Marxism, how it has seeped into our societies and how it has also seeped into our churches and is just bringing an utter devastation of not just our Western governments, as you can see, under various political leaders. We have seen the increase in crime, the ignorance of laws, the rejection of laws, the abolition of the sense of duty to government and to authority, respect for authority. All of these things come together under the idea of the ultimate rejection of the ultimate authority, who is God himself, who gives and who invests authority upon government wherever they may be. I also deal again with cultural Marxism, the whole onslaught of Marxist thinking, how again it is infected everything from the top down. So again, the courts, Supreme Courts, governments, prime ministers, presidents, and so on. And you see this mainly in the West, where you see the West simply crumbling. I also deal with the concept of Christ's rulership over the earth, his return and his universal reign. And I talk about the idea of the land promises in the Old Testament, how those land promises project into the future, into the creation of the new heaven, the new earth, and the new Jerusalem. And those are some of the topics that I address in my book. Of course, in my book, I address these issues at a more deeper level. The other thing I also wanted to do with my new book was I wanted to make it reader friendly. So it is not overly academic. It is academic to a degree, but I try to mold it into a comfortable format in which readers who are not necessarily seminary trained or seminary graduates or even college or university graduates, in a way that they could understand. And so I try to communicate that in layman's terms as it's been traditionally known. Can I say layman or is it now layperson? So you get the drift. So once again, I'm really excited about this. I'm very thankful to all my subscribers and all my viewers on YouTube who have already purchased my book or have purchased a number of copies of my book and have shared it with others, or they've given it as a post-Christmas gift. We are still in the Christmas season. And so from December 25th until January 6th, those 12 days, known as the 12 days of Christmas, we are still in the Christmas season. Technically, we're still in the Christmas season, even though Christmas Day has already passed. It continues until Epiphany, which is January 6th. You want to know more about that, you can check my video series on Christmas. I address all these topics. So once again, I just want to say thank you for all the viewers. I thank you for your prayers. I appreciate each and every one of you. Those of you who are not Christians and follow me, we may have our disagreements, and we may come across a little on the rough edges when we interact with each other. Of course, we want to be respectful in our dialogues, in our exchanges. And so those who are not Christians and are following me, whether you're Muslim or, excuse me, Buddhist or atheist, agnostic, whatever you are, I appreciate you. And again, I thank you for following. So once again, I'm going to put my book up here again, just to just show you again the book. And here it is again. So those of you who are interested, here's the book cover once again. All you have to do is just go to the Amazon links that I provide below, and you cannot miss the front cover of this regal lion looking at you. Of course, the lion representing the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who is, of course, the Lord Jesus Christ. And so that's the book, and all that information is in the description box. And so once again, thank you. Thank you so much for all these years of support. Thank you, those of you who've been praying for me, praying for my ministry. As you know, the type of ministry that I'm involved in apologetics is not a ministry that it's not a ministry that many would envy. A lot of people get excited about apologetics, and some have asked me to disciple them. I've discipled a number of students through the years, and continue to do so with some students. And of course, it's very exciting to jump into the area of apologetics. But when you deal with a wide spectrum of topics in the field of apologetics, it can be challenging at times, because speaking the truth will always offend people. You cannot not offend. Truth is offensive by its very nature. And Jesus Christ offended everybody because he was the truth incarnate, and he spoke truth. And so you have to acknowledge the fact that when you speak truth, the truth of the gospel, you will get pushback, you will get reactions. And so that's just par for the course, and it's just to be expected. But you have to love people enough to tell them the truth at the expense of them hating you, or at the expense of them not liking you. And so that is part of the ministry of apologetics. So once again, folks, thanks again. I encourage you to get the book, No King But Christ. It is finally out, and I know a number of you have been sitting on the edge of your seats waiting for this book to come out, and it has finally arrived. And so thank you again, everybody, and look forward to seeing you again. Take care, and wishing each and every one of you a happy new year and all the best for 2025. Take care. God bless.